All right, guys, today the iPhone 11, is it still worth it? Right now, it's the end of 2023. Christmas is like a week and a half away. The iPhone 11, one of my favorite phones of all time, one of my favorite iPhones of all time. Let's not get it twisted. It is an iPhone, so one of my favorite iPhones, though. This year, this was, I believe, 2019 when this phone dropped, and I mean, the 11 Pro Max. Fantastic device. The iPhone 11, 6 colorways, a really, really good device. One of my favorite phones. And of course, the product red 6.1-inch IPS LCD display. We'll talk about that. But is this device still worth it right now? Going into 2024, it's here already. We're going to talk about this phone, but if you're new to the channel, guys, hit that like, drop a sub. So the iPhone 11, again, 2019, 6.1-inch LCD display. So if you compare that to, say, something like the iPhone 15 Plus, you're going to see some big differences, right? The iPhone 11 has the old notch, not even the newer notch that was a little, well, not as wide. We got bigger bezels all the way around compared to the 15 and the 15 Plus. Now, the 15 does have a little bit bigger of a bezel than the 15 Plus because of the smaller display, but nothing compared to the bezels that we have here on the iPhone 11. So already it's starting to look a little older with the notch and, of course, with the big bezels. And, of course, the displays on here, LCD, OLED on the 15 Plus. A lot brighter of a display on here. So outside, something like this is going to go and take you a lot further. I believe on the iPhone 11, it was around 640 nits of max brightness. I don't really remember the exact, it was like 650 or something around there of max brightness on the iPhone 11. And you can see that's all the way up, and it is a little blown out in the video, so we gotta lower that back down. But something about this phone, I mean, look, the dual cameras on the back, but what I loved about this device, right, is the curved edges on here. Compared to, I mean, I like them both. You can't go wrong with either, but the squared off edges with the rounded corners now, and this, what we have here, this is just a very comfortable phone to hold. Very lightweight, very comfortable, and it was 625 nits of brightness. I wanted to just throw that out there, not 640 or 650, 625 max brightness compared to, I believe this is like 2000 or 1600 on the 15 Plus. I don't have any notes in front of me. A couple things that are going to be a problem with the iPhone 11. And I hate saying that because this phone is, again, one of my favorite iPhones of all time. Now, no action button. We do get the mute switch, of course, on here. IP68 rating on here, so 2 meters in water for up to about 30 minutes, although I would not try that. It's just not worth it. The LCD display, you're going to notice a big difference in sharpness and in clarity compared to what we have on today's phones, as well as brightness. You're getting the contrast of the colors on here compared to what we get on an LCD display. You're not getting that true black and some of those true colors on here, but that's where it's starting to show its age, right? The bezels, the look, not necessarily the feel, still feels very nice and premium, but the actual look of this phone all the way up into the display, right? It's just in a very old display, but the A13 Bionic is still a very capable chip, right? It's not going to compete. It's not as fast as the phones of today, nor should it be, because it's, 2019. What is that, 4 years? About to be 5 years old. And because it's 5 years old, that's where we get into the next problem. But the A13 Bionic, if you want to game on this phone, you're going to be able to do that. 60 hertz refresh rate on here, of course. But it is still a very smooth device, and it will open and close apps, and it will do anything you throw at it. But that's where we get into the next problem that you're going to have with this device very soon. And again, it's about to be 5 years old. Technically 5 years old in 2024. So software updates, you're still going to get it. I believe I'm on the latest version of iOS 17 on here. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, so we are on 17.2 on here, and it's been running smooth, like no issues at all, and everything works as it should. But future software updates are going to start disappearing. We probably will get an update for another year, maybe two, and then it's going to stop. So just be aware of that. If you're buying a phone like this, a couple of the problems: the display is going to start showing its age, the software updates are going to go away, and then one of the last problems with this device that I see is battery life. This really never had good battery life to begin with. The 11 Pro Max is a different beast altogether. If you need to, we'll check out the battery health. So battery health is at 84%. So if you're going to pick up an iPhone 11, say you just want to try out iPhones for the first time, this is a good entry-level iPhone at this point. Battery on here is not going to be great, so you might want to just take it, spend 60, 70 bucks and throw a new battery in there, and that will help with your experience on here. But battery life, future software updates, again, probably another year or two max, 2 years max as far as software updates. 1 year definitely, maybe 2 years, we'll have to see. And then the big bezels and the notch, not the best looking device when you're looking at it and watching content, things like that. It's a good display, it's not a great display, and when you compare it to the devices of today, it's a terrible display. Now, the cameras on here are capable. Again, it's not gonna compete with the dual camera, 48 megapixels that we have here on like the 15 Plus. Two 12 megapixel cameras on here, the wide and the ultra wide. Now, look, they're capable, and that's really all I can say. Like, they do a decent job on videos and pictures on here. Overall, if you just want to pull out your camera, if you just want to take photos and post them on Twitter or post them on Instagram or whatever, this will give you that. But there are much better cameras now on a smartphone. I mean, pretty much everywhere. So you can see struggles in low light a little bit. 12 megapixel, both ultra and ultra wide, or wide and ultra wide, I should say. The video on here, of course, it's an iPhone. It still takes great video, 4K, all the way up to 60 frames per second. But what can we get it for, right? What can we get this phone for? If I wanted to spend 800 bucks, 900 bucks, I can pick up a 15 or a 15 Plus. You can get the iPhone. I've seen them anywhere between 200 and 300 on eBay. On Amazon, it's going to be a little more, probably around 300, but on eBay, from a trusted seller, you can find them for right around 250 pretty much all day long. Now, storage is an issue though. 64 and 128 gigs of storage on here. The 64 gigabyte version will be cheaper, of course, and probably around 300 bucks for the 128 gig. Is it worth 300? We are pushing that line where it's almost not worth it. And I hate saying that because I love this device. If I had to recommend an entry-level iPhone, it would probably start from the iPhone 12 and up. For me, actually, I didn't even like the 12 series of phones. It would probably start from the iPhone 13 moving forward. I'm kind of done with these older phones, unfortunately. You know, the 11 Pro Max is a much better device today than the iPhone 11 is. This is definitely starting to show its age, but it is a classic. It's one of the best iPhones, I think, that was ever produced. You know, minus battery life, never good on here. But the iPhone 11, I use this device as my main phone for a very long time, over a year, and then over 6 months, again, years later, I did use this device. But the iPhone 11, again, if you have PWM, if you suffer from headaches, this LCD display will help with that because it only happens on OLED, so the LCD display will help you with your headaches. That's why I went back to the iPhone 11 the second time, because of the display. I needed a display that was an LCD. But again, you can get this for around $250. I don't think it's worth it anymore. I would steer away from the iPhone 11, unfortunately, and get at least an iPhone 12 entry level and then go up from there if you can afford it. The iPhone 13 and 13 Pro Max and Pro, they're much better devices than the iPhone 12s. So if you can afford that, that's where I would start if you want to get into the ecosystem of Apple. But the iPhone 11, guys, it's iconic to me anyway. Let me know what you think, but it's one of my favorite iPhones. Unfortunately, I can't recommend it anymore. But that's it, guys. I'll be back soon. Peace.